Welcome to Core Concepts from Dent Gaming. Let's see this build. Hey everybody, what is up? I got another build for you. This is high stakes, and this guy came about pretty randomly. I was actually just goofing off with just checking out if I could basically match a generator to a core perfectly, and yeah, the weapon sort of came after the fact. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the right arm weapon is actually the Appartif. The Appartif is a pretty unique weapons missile platform. It's got really good impact, and it actually launches 13 missiles, which actually inspired me to build another build, which should be the next episode, I believe, but I'm not going to get into it just yet because I haven't built it. So anyway, let's go back to this one real quick. Appartif uses a pretty interesting combat style. So the missiles come out and they hover for a second, and then they launch in at the enemy, dealing the damage that they're supposed to deal in the stagger build that they're supposed to do. Obviously, if they hit, they do have a guidance of 180, which is actually pretty good, with a effective range of 1200, which is just incredible. Not to mention the homing lock time is nice and low. The only thing I don't like about the Appartif really is the reload time at 6.5 seconds. But I say, but that is actually helped mitigated by the weapon on the back right, which I'm going to jump to. That is the BML G2 MLT 10, whatever you want to call them. They're the 10 racks, the 10 rack missile. So yeah, it's actually has a pretty large reload time of 6.4, but it chain launches the missiles, so when they fire out, they just fire in a long chain, which actually, as soon as you pull the trigger, it actually starts the reload time. Not to mention, multi-lock is great for PvE, but I mean, who really PvEs anymore? Once you're done with the story, you're done with the story. You don't really need to do anymore. Well, I guess you gotta buy parts, but whatever. Moving on. The arm unit on the left side is none other than the Lance. It is my favorite melee weapon. One of the main reasons why it is my favorite melee weapon is this charge attack. I abuse the charge attack on the Lance. Every now and again, I'll use the little poke, but the charge attack, oh god, I could watch that all day. It is so much fun. Not to mention, it's boosted by the arms, so these fat daddy numbers over here are even bigger. So that is, it's kind of ridiculous. It's a lot of fun when you actually get get the opponent pinned with that thing. It's just incredible. On the back left, I could just probably hop down to it. It's the, I'm using the butter. Smooth as butter. This is the butter sword. Yeah, it's the butter knife. That's what I'm using. Anyway, I'm using this one because chances are, if I've hit them with everything else, they're staggered. And if they're staggered, this direct hit adjustment is 230. Oof. Not to mention if I hit him with the double. So a lot of people don't know this. This is kind of weird, and I don't want to insult your intelligence if you already knew this, but I do want to get this information out there. Yes, 963 is a lower number, but you get to do it twice. So don't forget to do the double multiplier. So this is actually 963 times 2, which is 18, 19, 26. 1926? That's quick math in my head. I haven't done the math ahead of time, and that's pretty good. Not to mention that if you don't have them staggered yet, somehow, you can use this to stagger the opponent and then switch to the Lance if you're that close and you don't want to lunge, and then you can use the Lance's massive attack power. So it's got a lot of ways to punish, and it's got missiles to keep them busy. That eludes me, or eludes? I don't know if that's the right word. That brings me to the actual combat style of this craft. So we basically launch these missiles, the 10 rack. Those are going to more than likely this will lock on first, the front ones, but just fire these ones first. Trust me. As that's firing, then pull these out. Okay, and by the time this is done firing, it's starting its reload time, and then this one fires, and then you can chase them down with either the Lance or the blade, depending on their range. If they're at about 110, you can hit them with the last little poke the Lance does right at the end if they're directly in front of you. But if they're moving heavily, I highly recommend swapping to the pulse blade, the butter knife, because if you do that, it's more of a swinging motion. It's a little bit easier, especially if you use the charge. It's a nice big slash, so that's kind of nice. Moving on, so that's the battle strategy too. And then when they're staggered, make sure you capitalize with one of the melees. Please capitalize with one of the melees. The missiles are funny if you capitalize with that, but the melees just, chef's kiss. Anyway, moving on to the frame. I am running the Varel head. Interesting how I actually decided to use this headpiece. So I started off, what I did was I said, I'm going to make the most generator-friendly frame. So I equipped the Basho arms, the Finder eye, I think I actually equipped the core. I equipped the F Mira, and then I'm like, that's not going to work out. And then I noticed that the F Mira is really high in these two categories and not so high here. So I said, what if I just swapped it to the Fermiza? Because it is decently high in both of these, and it's got a higher stability. Why not? And it's got a better balance of defenses. So why not do that? So that's what I ended up doing. Plus it's lighter, which would make me faster, and I was noticing it was a little sluggish, so I decided to go with the Fermiza. And not to mention that the Fermiza actually plays into the combat style, because the output of the generator isn't the greatest. It's not the worst, but it's not the greatest. So boosting that was a must. And it did not boost the reload time of the generator or the recharge time. And if you take something that has a core that doesn't complement the charge time, and you put in a generator that has, I don't know, the second best recharge time in the game, you're left with this decent recharge time for your AN. It's less than a second. I'm not mad at that. It's like 3/4 of a second. I can handle that. Anyway, not to mention I get a decent EN cap and good supply efficiency. So those are definitely in the A+ category in my opinion. So that is how I landed on the Fermiza. But like I was saying earlier, I was talking about the head part. I had the Finder eye equipped. I literally equipped the oh yeah, and for the legs, I think I had these guys on the crawlers because they're the best entering it. And anyway, I basically landed on the Varel head because it just boosted the stats the most and kept this over 4K at that particular time. I could still play around with it and put on maybe a different head part that eats a little bit more but has a little bit more defenses, like say maybe the F Mira. The F Mira's got better stability. These still stay in the good. I could definitely put this on. It only slows me down about 1 kph. And actually, to be honest with you, holy crap, I just noticed this. The EN load's actually a little bit better. It's just a little bit heavier. That would definitely be justifiable. But right now, this thing is an absolute monster, and I don't want to touch it. So, so that is what I'm going with. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I already explained how I landed on the Fermiza and why. I do like that the Fermiza has got that booster efficiency. I think it's I want to say it's like the 4th best in the game. I could be wrong. I know it's the Nocturhire is the best, and then it's the Basho after that, and then actually I digress. It's the 3rd best. It's the 3rd best. Looking at it, yes, 3rd best. 3rd best booster efficiency in the game, which is great because QBing is a good thing. Not to mention, yeah, it's a sexy core. I like that core. I think the design is super sick. Moving on to the arms, I kind of already alluded to why I chose these, but initially I did have a shotgun equipped. I had the Big Daddy shotgun. I'm blanking on its name right now for some reason. I'm gonna look it up. It was this guy right there, the Zimmerman. How did I forget that? Like, a Zim build, a double Zim build is like Armored Core 6 101. Anyway, yeah, I had a Zimmerman equipped where this missile rack is because I knew accuracy wasn't the best. But then I thought to myself, well, I'm already running a 10 rack missile. let's just throw some more missiles on that thing. And sure enough, yeah, it actually kind of worked out that way. Anyway, moving on, that's why I chose the bash. Oh yeah, not to mention the melee boost on these things. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes the blade and the lance absolutely bonkers when you get a hit. Okay, moving on to the Melander C3s. So like I was saying earlier, I had the crawlers equipped. And I thought, well, I need to keep this fairly low and the weight about the same to maintain my speed. So I was like, I know that the Melander C3s are super close. So I popped them on there. And all of these stats went up, and these ones went up slightly. Weight went up slightly, and then EN load went up obviously higher because nothing has that freaking 280 EN load that these things have. These legs, the crawlers, are awesome if you're looking to save energy, but they just have crap stats up here. So I kind of traded. I said good stats here, a little bit worse stats down here. And honestly, 355, not that bad for legs. Anyway, moving on to the inner parts, I am running the Flugels. It's a double melee build. I need a Kikaku, a Flugel, or the Gridwalker. Like, that's just no-nonsense build right there. I did end up going for the Flugel because I wanted that QB thrust. Having 13,000 melee attack thrust was nice. And yeah, it had a better upward thrust also than, because I originally had the Alulas put on here because I'm in love with the Alulas. But I did end up going with the Flugel because, yeah, I wanted that melee attack thrust. I need my melee shots to hit, and that helps me do it. All right, moving on, I'm running the Talbot. This should be a no-brainer. It's a close to mid-range fighter that uses missiles. And there's close range, there's mid-range, there's your missile lock correction. Nothing else needs to be said about that. Yeah, Talbot. Ming Tang generator. Yes, like I was saying earlier, I intentionally paired a generator with the second best recharge in the game with a core that didn't boost recharge. I did that on purpose because those two stats will average out. And then if you take into effect the fact that your EN output is over 3K, your EN cap is over 3K, and your multiplier for your core helps this number, that's super cool. So that is how I actually how I came to the conclusion that the Ming Tang was the way to go. I did for a split second try to put this on, but yeah, I mean, there's only so much the core can do to boost your numbers for EN output. Yeah, it's not gonna. Oh, I'm sorry, not for EN output, but for EN cap. Yeah, so it just wasn't happening. There was just no way for me to do that. Anyway, so I thought if I can't get the first one, I'll get the second one. Why not? And then assault armor. Yes, I am running assault armor just in case the missiles don't kill you, just in case the lance doesn't kill you, just in case the butter knife doesn't kill you. Assault armor. So yeah, go ahead and use your pulse armor. I'm gonna assault armor it. That is the build and battle strategy. Let's go ahead and show you guys what this thing can do. Come here, Freud.
Main system activating combat mode.
Wow. All right, guys, that was high stakes. Getting it done against Freud in 13 seconds, which ironically is a hint at the name of the AC that I'm going to be debuting in episode 34 of Core Concepts. So, I went ahead and uploaded that information. Share ID on this monster going to be CSGTD0FW62W. If you like him, take him. He's all yours. I had an absolute blast using this big giant robot to blow stuff up. Please like and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.